Welcome back to the Healthy Youth Ministry Podcast. We're excited to release a series of episodes called Stronger Together, where we invite voices from youth ministries, leaders, experts from across the country to have a conversation about healthy youth ministry. And so I'm excited for you and your teams to get into new content. Now, as always, if you would, it would mean the world to us if you took a few minutes to leave a rating, leave a review, share this content with other leaders and youth pastors in your sphere of influence. That's going to help us increase our impact here and around the world. And lastly, if you've yet to sign up and register for the national conference in October, hosted here at Oaks Church in South Dallas, go to hymconference.com to get you and your team signed up. Well, here we go. It's time to get better. It's time to get stronger together. So let's lock in. Let's get leaned in to have a conversation about healthy youth ministry.
Welcome to our Stronger Together edition of the Healthy Youth Ministry Podcast. We say it all the time at Healthy Youth Ministry. We are stronger together. And with us today, I'm so pumped about this.
Come on.
Is my friend, someone I've been rolling with for years, and the youth pastor at Oaks Church in Red Oak, Texas, Andrew Prescott.
Come on.
Let's go.
We made it.
Yeah, that's right. Here we are. Come on. Oh, man. So excited to have you with us on this episode. And I know that we'll do more episodes together.
Oh, for sure.
And you're the voice. You're the intro voice and outro voice.
What?
Yeah.
I thought
here
that
it
was
is.
you.
No. We've had people mistake that. But excited about this episode. And Andrew, I know, again, that we'll do more episodes together just because the way we do life together and really do embody, I believe, that stronger together philosophy. But tell everybody a little bit about you, because I just said, hey, you're the youth pastor at a church, but you're so much more than that. So maybe where you grew up, a little bit of just your story. Who's Andrew Prescott?
Come on. Okay, so grew up in the north of Oklahoma City, sub-rural, Guthrie, Oklahoma.
That's right.
I'm an Oklahoma State fan, the humble ones from Oklahoma.
The history lesson is the first capital of Oklahoma is
Guthrie.
in Guthrie. There you go.
The city stopped in
Now
time.
you know. So if you're listening or watching history,
You never knew you wanted to know.
That's right.
About Oklahoma history, but here we are.
Yep.
And so growing up, was in and out of understanding who Jesus was. Getting to high school, self-proclaimed agnostic for a few years. And then when I was 17 years old, I went to a camp.
Let's go.
Which our camp is coming up.
That's right.
Probably when this goes live, I'm probably going to be at camp.
You're right.
So pray for me.
Yeah. Life change happens
at camp. Every time.
And you can say that.
I'm a product of that.
Yeah, it's truly happened.
And so in one night, heard the gospel, and the first thought I had is, if this is true, it's the most important thing in the universe. That thought and that question and seeking truth compelled me to fully devoting my life to Jesus. In high school, started 3 what we now call Jesus clubs, but our school didn't really have anything. Started an FCA on Monday night, weekly See You at the Pole on Wednesday morning, and the Breakfast Club.
Come
on Friday morning at 6 a.m. We had 80 high schoolers waking up and meeting at 6 a.m.
Those are the real ones.
And our
was that what'd you do there? Was it like Bible study based, or
honest to God,
just preaching?
It was. I just got up and preached.
Come on,
and then we did discussion afterwards. But I'd cook pancakes. I was like dual wielding spatulas, and I have the secret recipe to this day.
Yeah,
I'm a pancake connoisseur.
Yes, you are.
But and the verse for that club, Breakfast Club, was John 21:12. Then Jesus said, "Come and have breakfast." We'd say it's not an option; it's a command.
That's right. Come and have breakfast
at the Breakfast Club, and so did that. My youth pastor was youth pastored by you.
It's true.
And so when I start sensing this calling to be a youth pastor, he's like, "Man, you got to go intern. You got to go serve with Pastor Joseph, Kellogg." And so I took a train. I took a train with a backpack and a bicycle.
From Oklahoma to Texas,
and started serving at Oaks Church. Best decision I ever made.
Let's slow down, because I think I always like to. I know we have so much to talk about in this episode,
it's generational.
But I like to slow down. Even your story of get radically saved at 17 years old at camp. So then going into your senior year, you just truly on fire.
Right.
Like what every youth pastor is like, I wish I had that kid.
My valedictorian speech, odd flex, I know,
Yeah.
was sharing the gospel.
Come on.
They cut me off 3 minutes short. I have video because I was doing that.
And I know I've shared this before, this isn't it. I just want people to realize what kind of decision it was. So you follow Jesus, but that next decision you make is like, I feel the call of God on my life.
Right.
And at the time, you're wanting to be an engineer.
Yep.
Strong academics for you. God is, and again, I think it's like you're brilliant. You know,
I was
God,
good at school.
You very good at school. Scored a perfect on his ACT, but
it is.
you always let people know, hey man, I took that thing a few times. Like,
I did.
You know, but I say that to go like that decision. I think even for some young leaders listening, like, oh man, I have all these dreams and aspirations, but when you kind of collide with God's story,
right.
it kind of changes so many different things. And so you make the decision to come down to Oaks Church. We have a leadership college called Oaks College, and in 4 years get your bachelor's,
Associates in Bible, bachelor's in church ministry, master's in organizational leadership, and met my wife.
That's right.
And we now get to youth pastor together. So it's
That's awesome.
best thing that's ever happened.
How
to me
long have you been
outside of
married now?
Jesus. Man, we've been married 6 years, going on 7. So we're
Come
going
on.
to cross that 7-year mark this January. And we've been able to be co-youth pastors for the past almost 5 years.
That's awesome.
5 years now. So it's awesome.
And we'll have to do another episode on just fleshing that out and having you and Lauren talk about that, because it is unique, but it's awesome and
highest potential, highest difficulty.
Yeah.
And so it's those two things married together.
That's married together, yeah. And you guys truly are stronger together. You bring your strengths and weaknesses together.
We are.
But what's cool is you came through the leadership college, met your bride, served, as an intern in our youth ministry, and then what we call like a ministry associate, which is pretty much you get scholarship money. You're leading at a higher level. You're taking on more responsibility.
Directing camp.
That's right.
As an intern.
While doing school.
While it's a full-time grad.
But then you step in, as the associate youth pastor, and then in 2019, I had the greatest honor and joy to kind of hand the baton off.
Right.
And you become the youth pastor
of
Oaks Church. And I love something Scott Wilson says. He says, transition happens not when the father's ready, but when the son's ready.
Wow.
And to me, and it's not like I'm father, you're son, but just more of that idea of transition and leadership.
Yeah.
But the beauty is like you were ready. And then again, I'm giving so many disclaimers because we do need to do another episode
just on the journey,
on the journey, but also like your first year in youth ministry.
Let me give him the spark note.
Yeah.
First year in youth ministry. Okay.
As the youth pastor. I always tell people, you've been in youth ministry as me on our team and then as an associate, but like you at the helm.
Right.
What we would talk about feeling the full weight of you're the lead youth pastor.
Within 12 months, I have a major brain surgery.
Yeah.
And so I'm in the hospital over Christmas.
COVID happens.
COVID hits. During COVID, we have a senior pastor transition of 25 years.
Yeah.
Of 25 years. So I come back. It's a new church, new pastor, major transitions across the board. And we come back in. We get that first week back after COVID. And that was the true starting line. And it was from 0.
Yeah. And it's crazy because year 1 of youth ministry alone would be difficult.
Oh, yeah.
Year 1 of following not just my leadership, because you were a part of building that, but
right.
It was the growth was happening. So it's not like you're coming in, so that would have been enough. But you're like, you know what? Let me add on brain surgery and COVID, and again, another episode for another day.
Another episode, and just keep it light. I also love ice cream, Brahms specifically.
Yeah. Okay.
I love rock climbing.
Great rock climber.
Bouldering,
Bouldering. You need to follow Andrew on Instagram. What's the?
I post about my wife, Jesus, and rock climbing.
That's right.
Pretty much.
But the rock climbing thing's pretty inspiring. It's like,
dude, absolutely, man. You could preach that upside down, left and right.
Because that's what you're doing. You're going upside down, left and right.
Dude, there it is already. But I love me some Brahms ice cream.
Okay.
I think every Wednesday night after youth for the past 10 years, I've went and got ice cream.
Really?
Yes, I don't miss.
Dude, that's incredible.
I don't miss. You got to treat yourself. Absolutely.
That's wild. And you are a rock climber. You're a runner too, though. That's kind of your. That's a.
I run a marathon every year. Yeah.
I know, and that's like, we had Vince Parker on here,
Yeah.
and he's running his first marathon, and then Andrew just like, I run a marathon every year. But you're a wrestler, and
hey man, Oklahoma.
in
If you're
high
not from
school.
Oklahoma, it's hard to understand. But
Yeah.
it's the home of even the National Museum of Wrestling. Oklahoma State's a dynasty. It's just different there.
Yeah. So that was great. That was good.
That was good. Here we are.
I feel like that's a good get to know you.
Yes.
And this is the thing I'll say, and that's what kind of segues in this, conversation that we're going to have on this episode, is we can talk about a lot of things, and we will. We'll have more conversations like this. I'm crazy proud of you.
Thank you.
I tell people all the time that Andrew's one of the best youth pastors, and we could probably even define what is a youth pastor, but
Right.
Andrew has seen so many students come to know Jesus, leaders kind of immersed into their purpose because of your hands-on approach to, I saw this kid in the park, I'm going to have a Jesus conversation with him.
Right,
and I just
right.
think, man, you do such a good job. I think you're an evangelist at heart, the true, even thinking about you in school.
Right.
So we're going to talk about school. When this episode is released, school's about to start, summer's over,
Right.
or coming to a close. And let's talk about campus ministry, or even what you and I would call Occupy All Schools.
Yes.
There's all these different ways that a youth pastor, a ministry can support the school.
Right.
And we're actually going to talk about a few of those in the next few episodes. And, from partnering with FCA, something that we've done for years.
Right.
Gatorade drops.
Gatorade drops.
It's
Doesn't
really
miss.
more like a serve approach. Hey, we're just going to serve the school. Dropping some Sonic off to the receptionist at the front
Amen.
desk, figuring out ways, seeds or bubble, just really coming to the school.
Popsicles for band.
Oh, 100%. Just coming to the school going, hey, how can we serve you? And
Right.
I think, I'm just letting you know, I'm a big advocate of that's just a great way to just go, hey, how can we come alongside, serve the school, and really leading it through, how do we impact coaches and teachers, which, man, we are all for. You guys still do. I'm a big advocate of and partnering with those things. So there's that approach. There's other different venues when it comes to not just FCA, but what it looks like to come across one of these programs. But
Right.
that sometimes even I remember growing up, me as a young youth pastor, I'd get invited, hey, come preach at my club or preach at my thing, and
Absolutely.
and which I thought was an honor, was super cool. But you guys have really went all in, just push your, the chips in to go, hey, how do we really mobilize students
Right.
to be salt and light,
Absolutely.
to be Jesus on their campus? Because I grew up as hey, go, and we even did that a lot here, hey, go sit at the cafeteria table.
Yes.
But now with all the different legal things, it's the only people you can sit with is whoever gave you permission to sit with them.
It's true. It's true.
And so it was cool to meet some kids, but how are we really helping students live for Jesus on those campuses? And so a few years ago, you guys went all in on Jesus clubs.
Right.
And so we're going to take the remaining of our time and kind of talk through this, and really what I would say kind of 3 thoughts on what's the mindset, maybe the model, or even what it looks like to mobilize students to do this. And,
Right.
and I start with the mindset, because you and I were talking before we pushed record, of we can give you here's the how-to,
Right.
here's a PDF file.
That's a link I could share.
Here's a video, but we've done that, and sometimes youth pastors, it just never happens.
Right.
And we really believe it comes down to the leader having the right mindset, or if to put it kind of maybe in spiritual terms, having the right heart,
Right.
or even go deeper, a burden to really see students living for Jesus on their campus.
Yes.
So I teed you up the best I can. All right.
Oh, we're here.
And so now talk to us about, before we get in the models and the methodology and what's it look like for that youth pastor. Could be a youth pastor of 30 students, a youth pastor of 300 or 3,000. And they're
Absolutely.
we really want to be active on our campus,
Yes.
but there's only one of me, or maybe I have a team.
Uh-huh.
How do we do this? And for us, as long as I've been in youth ministry, and really it's you as a teenager, and now even being here, we have a reach of multiple schools.
Right.
So we're not in a single town, which to me, if you are, dude, take advantage of that. It's beautiful.
Man,
I think you
swarm.
should own that school. But for us here at Oaks Church, and when I was here, then every ministry I've ever been a part of in leadership, we reach multiple schools.
Yes.
So sometimes that can be overwhelming. and we end up doing nothing
Right.
because it seems,
or you spread yourself too thin where you don't have a major impact on any one.
That's right. You're like, hey, I was present, because even Gatorade opens the door, but you have to go further in. And so, all right, I set you up. What's it look like to have the mindset, for that leader to have the mindset? What's it look like to really occupy the campus and do that through Jesus Clubs?
And just as the hook, so for Oaks Youth, this last school year, we had 22 Jesus Clubs in 16 different schools. Those are junior highs, high schools. Those are public schools. There's some private school Jesus Clubs, charter school, and homeschool. We have 2 homeschool Jesus Clubs that meet on a Thursday night and a Saturday morning.
Because now homeschool, there are a few students that are part of the kind of old traditional homeschool, but most homeschools have co-ops.
Yes, or they have 2-day school throughout the week, but they call it homeschool. And so some of them meet in coffee shops. They just get all the homeschool moms and they drop them off. So it's like, I'm trying to remove barriers to you leaning in. So it's like, this is for everyone.
That's good, because a lot of people are like, well, I can't talk about Jesus Clubs, so we have a lot of homeschool students. You're saying, hey, no, there are options for you, every student, because we're going to help them do that.
And Jesus Clubs is not just for the classic popular jock, cheerlead captain person. We had a Jesus Club that they named their Jesus Club the Quiet Kids, and on his activation board, his why was, I want to reach other kids that are quiet like me. And we're just going to sit at the lunch table, open the Bible, and read through it.
That's good.
And so it's like, this is for all shapes and sizes, anyone with a yes in their heart. And that's a beautiful thing about the model, which we'll get into. But a student can go from a yes to a plan in about 20 minutes or less to where they're fully equipped. But when it comes to the mindset, there are approximately 98,755 public school districts in the United States. And the vision is, occupy all schools. All schools. And Jalen, here for me, as someone that gets to serve kind of on the lead team for the Jesus Club movement as it exists out of North Texas and has gone around the country, is, man, I don't care if it's priority first. I don't care if it's FCA, Young Life, as long as we are occupying all schools for the name of Christ. And so Jesus Clubs is our expression, is what we're seeing at work. But we want to just see more students mobilized to lead. And when we come to the mindset, it really all starts, which this whole idea was birthed and the model was birthed out of a time of prayer that me and some friends were having on the roof of our church. You could see the stadiums of the 5 major school districts around our church. And we're praying, we're interceding, and God dropped Ephesians 4:12 on our heart, which says the role of the pastor is to equip the saints, the students, for the work of the ministry. And doing the work of the ministry doesn't mean your students hold a door open. It doesn't mean your students work a soundboard. We all want students serving and have a heart for the local church. And that's great and that's good. But the work of the ministry is the ministry of the gospel. And so it's very much about mobilization. And so in order to do this, you have to, and I'll be the first to confess it, I've fallen into this trap. If we're truly going to mobilize students to lead, because it's not like FCA where a coach or a teacher or a pastor is coming in. Like Jesus Clubs is student-led, church-fed. So the students leading and we're supporting and championing and coming behind. We're there for accountability. But the student's the one with the mic. And in order for that to be true, youth pastors must confess and repent. And again, waving my hand, I'll go first, is we have to repent of what youth pastors often fall into, including myself, which is main character syndrome. It's like, man, I got to be the guy. Hey, student, let me in and come preach. And we love it when they invite us. It's like, that's not the win. The win is to have a student that's in front of their peers, leading the way, leading Bible study, leading prayer. And all too often, even the classic like post-camp high and the trail off, and we're always like, man, our students just won't stay on fire after camp, or like, man, our students just won't invite their friends, or they just won't reach people in their school. They won't pray for people. They just won't be bold. And to quote the great Craig Rochelle, Seagrow himself.
Come on, I think we quote him every episode, but that's okay.
We should. We should. I've listened to all this stuff at least twice. Is the problem is that our students just won't. The problem is that we have not led them to. That is the forbidden phrase to say, man, our students just won't.
They just won't reach their campus, or they won't. And
it's so funny. I actually was talking to some youth pastors, was serving at their camp, and I'm like, man, what do you want out of camp? And they're like, man, we want our students living on mission. We want them to reach their families and their friends. And I was great. I was like, great. Well, does your model support your desire for students to live missionally?
because students are a product of the program that you put together. Yeah.
They are. So
Yeah.
it's like, if you want those things, that's just aspirational.
It's good.
But Jesus Clubs is an initiative that actually mobilize, and you take those camp moments
Yeah.
and you turn them into movements
Yeah.
through mobilization. Because if you don't, you're going to end up with the classic, man, the God moments at camp, they just became memories.
Yeah.
That's a photo in the camera roll. That's an Instagram post.
Yeah.
And you're banging your head against a wall, wondering how this kid who had a real God moment is flaking out.
Yeah.
And you're that frustration. The part of the solution is mobilization.
It's good.
And so with Jesus Clubs, and you know, I'm trying to answer the questions that people are having in their mind even before they answer. Well, it's like, well, you know, like, is a student ready to start a Jesus Club if they just have a yes in their heart? And the thing is, what we've seen is our students in Oaks Youth that are most passionate about reading Scripture, most passionate about prayer, most passionate about purity, are the ones who are starting Jesus Clubs.
Yeah.
Because now they're being kept accountable by the thing that
right.
they're actually leading, because it's reciprocal. The more I want to live missionally, the more I realize my need to read the Bible.
Yeah.
The more I read the Bible, the better equipped I am to live missionally. And with the mindset, what we're calling people to is, hey, man, every youth pastor ever has said, man, I just want students to live for Jesus the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
But in this perspective, it's good, but it's shallow, because we don't just want students to live for Jesus the rest of their lives. We want them to live on mission.
Yeah.
For the rest of their
Spirit-empowered
lives.
life, yeah.
Exactly. So if students are leading a Jesus Club
Yeah.
and they're the upfront leader and a school, those are the men and women of God who are going to grow up and they're going to live on mission in the workplace, in the marketplace, in the schools. They're going to be championing and sponsoring Jesus Clubs in their schools.
Yeah.
And so, like, Jesus Club mindset is a missional mindset.
Yeah, that's good.
And it's not something you just set loose and it just goes, and like students, it's intended to become part of your culture.
Yeah.
So just imagine in your youth ministry every other week, you have a student on stage sharing testimony about their Jesus Club.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, hey, let's pray for the lost in our schools,
Yeah.
to where eventually it's just part of your culture.
Good. Because, you know, you say it all the time when it comes to, like, what you reward gets repeated.
Right.
And to me, like, what you say in the microphone is going to be multiplied.
It will.
And so, to me, that mindset comes down to that why. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because you're talking about, you know, because it is summertime, we're recording this,
Yes.
and we've both been at a lot of camps this summer, and Oaks Youth's about to have their camp.
Come on.
And I was at a camp a couple weeks ago, and they were so pumped, the youth pastors and leaders, and again, so am I. They were so pumped that students were lingering, which
Right.
I think there's something powerful in the linger. But the Lord gave me kind of this axiom that I was like, I'm okay with the linger, but I want them to have a faith that lasts.
Right.
But that's like changing the why, because they were celebrating, like, man, look at, and I'm over here, the youth pastor inside of me is like, actually, I think it'd be great if we all took what we just heard in our moment in response to God to then go get in a circle.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it and move. And I think it's so hard for me as someone that goes and travels and speaks. I'm like, I want to help, but the Lord just, and I said it in the leader meeting the next day. I was like, hey, I love it. I love that students are lingering. I think we need to create space to like hear from the Lord, but a faith that lasts, but also, like you said, a life on mission. But that comes back to what's my, like, the mindset's coming down to your why. This is why we're doing this. And I'll just give this disclaimer, and then you can start talking through the model.
Right.
We're not just yelling one thing.
Mm-hmm.
We still have students serving on Sunday.
Right.
They serve on, like, they still are opening doors. They still are work. Like, that's a part of, like, we're the hands and feet. We're in this thing.
Yes.
Man, we still have smarters. We still. It's just that we're putting an emphasis on what it looks like to live a missional life, and this is one component, and it translates into adulthood as well. You know, and to have a mission. Like, how am I reaching the people around me? Because how do we reach the world? We reach our world.
And one at a time.
And so...
and I think that's huge, too, with the lingering part. Because, I mean, what did Jesus say to Peter when he tried to linger on the Mount of Transfiguration? He's like, you can't stay here.
Yeah.
And then even, you know, when it comes to the men of God who were following Jesus and he sent out the 72, like, he was sending them out. Those jokers didn't even know he was the Messiah.
Yeah.
And so I think even we get tripped up. It's like, man, we need students to learn to linger first, and we need them to learn, like, you know, all the A through Z's of, like, scripture memorization. I'm like, listen, if you're saved, you're sent.
Yeah.
Nothing in the Bible shows us a gap
Yeah.
between being saved and being sent.
Yeah.
Because the demoniac woke up in the morning, possessed by a legion of demons.
Yeah.
That same day in the evening,
he's going.
was sent out to the 10 towns.
Yeah.
And he even tried to get training.
Yeah.
He was like,
let me
he's
roll
like,
with you,
Jesus, let me come with you.
Yeah.
And Jesus is like, no, you go and
You gotta go home.
You tell everyone everything
Yeah.
God's done for you. And so I think, like, we can't say no for a student.
That's good.
If they say yes, we have to steward that yes.
Yeah.
But sometimes we say no for a student,
Yeah.
even though they probably have a yes in their
And letting them know too, like, we want to help them understand Scripture, but the story, like, I think Paul models, because Paul has a great education, he has a great background, but you see so many times he's like, hey, on the road to Damascus, he's reminding people, I met Jesus one day,
Right.
and my life's changed forever, and we really are okay. Yeah, you just got saved, man. You should start a Jesus Club, and that's where you're probably even seeing. I know we'll probably get into like some of the Jesus Clubs that have probably had some of the kind of instant growth, and it's someone that's just like, I don't know about all this stuff,
I know
but we're going to go
me.
through it. You know,
he's like, I know he saved me. Because
Yeah.
if you're saved, you have something to say because you at least know how you got saved.
Yeah.
Sometimes simple faith is the most powerful thing.
Yeah, you're right.
And you grow as you go, and it's a
complicated,
beautiful thing.
yeah.
And again, just to reiterate what he said, the entire Oaks Youth model, we do services, we do small groups, we do student leadership, we do schools.
Yeah.
That's all we do.
All those assets, baby.
We're sending, hey, there it is. We're sending students from Wednesday in service to the weekend in the small groups to the world through student leadership in schools. That's all we do.
There's a pathway. We're trying to move them in it, and there's an emphasis to me, and I really do think that Jesus Club has ignited. It's really. I feel like we're getting ahead of ourselves, but I'll just, as a as a dad, I have 2 students that lead Jesus Clubs, and incredible. You know, I'm blown away. You know, my daughter's speaking, having to work through text to get up and speak to over 100 students in a junior high. And I'm like, dude, I didn't preach to 100 students for like my first few years as a youth pastor, you know?
Yeah.
And so, but what's cool, just to let you know up front, if you're like, well, how are we going to grow our youth ministry? I'm telling you, Jesus Clubs, through the model that Andrew's about to go through, we've seen it not just grow a youth ministry, but people are coming to our church and people are talking about it in our community because our students might be running point guard, but it's cross kind of denominational and different churches are involved because students are going, hey, you love Jesus, I love Jesus, let's reach our friends together.
Yes.
And so anyway, I have a feeling this is what's funny as we're talking. Getting the Celsius, go for it.
Popping a Celly.
You know, if you're listening and not watching.
Hey, can we get sponsored?
Yeah.
Hey, Celsius.
We have Celsius. And then we're both rocking
Carhartt.
which is like, there's like a word for this. It's like workwear.
Workwear.
Yeah, you know,
dude.
we did no you know, we didn't do any construction today.
No.
But we're rocking Carhartt.
Absolutely.
You know. So
we're building the kingdom. You know, I was going to be an engineer. I was going to design buildings. Now I'm designing God's building.
Come on.
His house.
I was supposed to be a farmer, but God called me to a different harvest.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, come on, church. Hey, so I realized you and I could probably do like long form podcasts and talk for 3 hours.
Like Jocko.
That's right. Come on, my guy. Mindset.
Okay,
we're just saying, you know, man, hear from the Lord, but we can't ignore the Great Commission.
Yes.
We're called to make disciples that make disciples.
Yes.
And so we're called to equip the saints, students to do so.
Right.
It's all in the Bible. And so whatever, just start with a few. But what do I do now? Okay, man, Pastor Andrew, like I want to mobilize students.
Yes. What's the
model? How do I do it?
Absolutely. And truly, and this is the last mindset thought, the model's simple. That's why I don't need a lot of time on it. Our students, as youth pastors and leaders, will not be passionate about reaching the lost if we as the youth pastors and leaders aren't also passionate.
Right.
And so, like, I've always thought the best way to share a salvation call, to invite students to say yes to Jesus, is to share a recent story of how you've led someone to Jesus.
Yeah, it's good.
So, like, most recent, I could talk about my dude Storm, who I met at the climbing gym.
Yeah.
And I've been praying for and inviting to church and
coolest name ever,
Jesus.
by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds like a G.I. Joe.
His daughter's name's Stormy.
Nice.
And so, like, I've been inviting and praying and texting all these things, and he finally comes this last Sunday.
Yeah.
And he's committing his life to Jesus, and his family's there, his wife's there, his mom's there.
Yeah.
And they're all there, and they're getting plugged in. It's like, when you share salvation goes, like, maybe you're like my dude Storm.
Yeah.
And man, somebody who's been pulling your arm trying to get you to Oaks Youth for a while. You don't even know what to expect, but God's going to meet you in a powerful way. The gospel's going to meet you where you're at. And so it's one of those things where God revealed to me that if I was telling students to reach the lost, but I wasn't living it.
Yeah.
Even if I wasn't talking about it. It was almost like the Sons of Sceva issue. It was like I'm trying to say something that is good in God's word, but it's like the students' ears were covered. It, like they can't hear you because there's no anointing in what you're saying because you're not modeling what you're trying to multiply.
Yeah.
And so it's a conviction. But let's get into the model. Let's lighten things up.
Yeah.
The model.
That's a whole nother, like, it's
Oh,
so funny.
man.
You saying convictions, it makes me think of, like, I talk about leadership development. It's like, and I think we talked about this on one of the episodes, like conviction, and then there's like constructs, like so it's that mindset, models, different language, but the same thing. Okay, it's in you. Now what do you do?
Now what do you do? So if you're starting from scratch, if you don't have any Jesus clubs, or maybe you're in some FCAs, but you want to move towards the mobilization of a student to lead, my encouragement would be, don't start an initiative at first. You do what I would call a beta test. So if you got a new iPhone, or if there's an iOS update, before you ever get that update, there's been people who have already tried it to get all the bugs out, and they've tested it out in their context, and they've been taking notes on what works and what doesn't work. Because although we are protected by the Equal Access Act of 1972, which means if a student initiates a Christ-centered club in a school, they're protected not by state law, but even by federal law. And the urgency for Jesus clubs, even in this season, is we don't know how much longer that law is going to exist.
You're right.
So we need to make the most of every opportunity, especially because the days are evil.
That's right.
And then plus, now that we got Satan Club starting in Chicago and that spreading, and not to mention Stranger Things, the most popular show on Netflix, shows the main characters participating in a Satan club. He's not even hiding anymore. It's crazy. And if he's doing that, that means he's desperate. Because he knows.
And then kids are going to be curious when they watch this because they are watching it.
Dude, yes, for every one student that starts a Satan club, we need 100 Jesus clubs. So there's an urgency. But with the model, do a beta test. So find that one on-fire student, that one student that is bought into the community. They have a healthy heart, healthy mindset. And I would encourage, don't go from a stage and launch Jesus clubs. Meet with that student one-on-one and start with the question of, man, if you could do one thing for God in your school, and you knew you wouldn't fail if you tried, what would you do? And then from that question, kind of guide them on this path of helping them launch a Jesus club. And then once you do that for a semester or two, the story of struggle and success from that one will be your vision cast, your testimony to launch it full scale.
So tell me, because you're going to go a little deeper, but like you did that. So tell me, it's been about 3 years?
4.
4 years. So how many did you start with, and then how many, we just finished with, but I know we're about to launch new as we're going into a new school year, but like, tell me that journey.
So beta year, we had 3.
Okay. Because we have multiple schools.
We didn't tell the entire community about it until 9 months after those first 3 launched. And then we had the campaign of camp. It was our primary off-ramp from camp. Was get a team of your friends, let's start Jesus clubs. And then that fall, after camp, we had 12. The next year, we had 18. And then the last 2 years, we had 20 and 22.
That's awesome.
And so that beta test year was giving us testimony to energize. We had a junior high, we had a 6th grader, and we had a 9th grader, and we had a senior that all started. Those were the 3 beta tests.
Which even gives you kind of a range of different ages and phases of life as well.
I pulled Daytree and that 6th grader up there, and I was like, listen, high schoolers, if this kid is willing to be this bold, it's like, come on, what are you waiting for? Finish strong.
I think it's good for people to hear too, and maybe you can talk through that in the model. It's like, well, man, why aren't you running, you were at like 12, why aren't you running like 40? Because we're not just, there isn't a recklessness to this.
No.
It's actually, because that student is representing Jesus first, but they're representing this ministry and in this community. So it's not like you just, hey, I want to start a Jesus club. You're like, all right, go for it, buddy.
No.
Like there's conversations. There's
training.
Like, what's that mod? Like
there's accountability.
Tell me what that looks like a little bit.
And plus, there's students that'll have a yes at camp, and then they do flake out. We don't force them to do it.
No.
Because you can end up hurting someone.
But you're giving them steps to take before they do it.
They're not going to fade out because I didn't give them next steps.
Yeah.
But they might flake out because it's not their season. And so our language is, hey, Jesus Clubs is a great way, but not the only way to reach your friends on your school.
It's good.
And so if someone that goes out, it's like, hey, let's figure out what it looks like for you to go reach the one on your team and stuff. It doesn't have to be a Jesus Club. But also understand that although this last year was 24 Jesus Clubs, it was over 60 students.
Yes.
Because there's teams of students.
Yeah, exactly.
That are co-owning.
They're co-leading, which that has grown a ton. And to be honest with you, it's actually the best model because it needs from you get sick to you. It really is that you guys have to lead as a team and the team of influence. What I got to see, I know, especially with my daughter that was at a junior high, it was each person on that leadership team. You're kind of using your influence. So if you're on volleyball, you have your friends coming, or you have, like if you're in this club, you have your friends coming. Dude, funny story. My daughter Riley led a Jesus Club started mid-semester.
Yeah.
Kind of, was inspired. So she tells a story. They had like their hands full of like donuts and had a guy help them.
Yeah.
So he came and helped them. The next week he brought all his buddies to come to Jesus Club because there's donuts.
Hey now.
And
donuts are the doorway to the gospel.
Come on. Yeah. That's awesome. So it's funny that it just started, but that guy got his sphere of influence, and so it kind of multiplied in that way.
Exactly.
Like, oh, this is cool, and so that's why it is great that it is a team that helps lead.
Exactly.
You can do it by yourself.
You can,
but that's why you're even saying, hey, yeah, we have 22 groups, but you would even say those groups are even stronger than ever because of where we're heading.
Exactly.
And we know that this fall we'll have more groups based off of just the growth of the ministry as well.
There's three major roles in a Jesus Club. You have the owner.
Okay.
We use that language on purpose because the student is the owner of the Jesus Club. They're responsible.
Yep.
They're the publisher.
Yeah.
Like they have the publishing rights. It's their Jesus Club.
Yep.
It's their God dream.
Yeah.
And we make that really clear. And so the responsibility, it rises or falls on them. But we provide the second role, which is a champion.
Yeah.
Now the reason we
Which
don't
could be a volunteer or a youth pastor, or a parent,
an adult, a youth pastor, a parent. And this is someone that, we might traditionally call a leader.
Yeah.
But we didn't want to use that language because this isn't the Jesus Club leader.
Yeah, he's not leading, or she's not leading the Jesus Club. The owner is,
The owner is. The champion is the support.
That's good.
And so the champion exists for accountability, pastoral care, encouragement, resourcing, those sort of things.
Yeah.
Really, a week in the life of a champion is sending 4 texts or having conversations like, hey, how you feeling about this week? What's the content? Check it, make sure they're not teaching heresy or something like that.
Yeah.
And then it's like, hey, do you need anything?
Yeah.
You need some donuts, you need some snacks, whatever.
Need posters printed or invite cards.
And then you're praying for them, you're hyping them up, and then after the fact, you're like, hey, how'd it go? And then you can share a what if.
Yeah.
So in Jesus Clubs, for our champions, we say that should is a cuss word.
Yeah.
So the champion doesn't mean to say, hey, you should do this, you should do that.
Yeah.
Because then you're taking away the copyright from the student.
Yeah.
And we know Gen Z's publishers, they don't dig that.
Yeah.
They're fulfilling their God dream, but I can say, hey, what if?
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, what if you tried just keeping it simple and doing Bible study? What if you tried moving to the gym instead of, in the science lab? What if you tried? And so
I'm music playing before.
I'm giving inspiration, but I'm giving it in a way that is not feeling like I'm dominating
it's good.
their God dream that they're leading. And then the third role is just a sponsor.
Yeah.
So in order to
teacher sponsor
have a club, so you have to find a teacher that either loves Jesus
that'd be a win.
Or loves the student. So if the teacher just loves the owner, like the kid that's trying to start one, there's people that don't love Jesus, but they're like, man, I love this student.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sign
all
off
of my
and support
classroom
on this. And open it up. And so that's the structure of it. But the model is not a manual. That's the biggest distinctive.
Yeah.
It is a tool.
Yeah.
So back in the day, I remember campus club initiatives, and it's like you get a booklet, and it give you here's how, here's exactly, here's the order, here's everything. This is a bit more of a publisher model. It's a tool. It's digital now, but originally it was just a one pager.
Yeah.
And a student would write, and they'd start, what's your why?
Yeah.
They'd write out, man, there's a lot of Christians at my school, but they're maybe lukewarm. I want them to fall in love with Jesus.
Yeah.
And they write in their custom why. The student is picking what day, what time, what location. And they're picking, do I want this to be prayer focused, Bible focused, or preaching focused?
Yeah.
So they're choosing even their style.
Yeah.
So we have Jesus clubs that look like Weekly See You at the Pole.
Yeah.
We have Jesus clubs that look like, hey, we're reading the book of Romans and we're going to open it up in popcorn verse.
Yeah.
We have Jesus clubs where kids are getting up and preaching.
And then maybe even, I know for Riley, they would, because junior hires aren't long-winded.
Right.
So they would speak for maybe 5-7 minutes, and then they would do small group questions.
Yep.
And they would just like, hey, talk to the person beside you about these questions. Yeah.
Exactly. So they get to even pick their style. They pick the name. They're picking their launch date. They're picking their team. They're writing down, hey, these are friends that I want to ask to help me.
Yeah.
So a student with this model, with this tool, especially a digital one, they can go from a yes to a plan in 20 minutes or less.
Yeah.
We even have scripts that a student can copy and paste to send to their sponsor and principal saying like, hey,
which that's a big win. It kind of, again, you took that obstacle away.
Right. We're
what do
trying
I
to
do next?
streamline everything. And so, but the important thing is what makes a Jesus Club is 5 things that you have to do to make it a Jesus Club in our mind.
Great.
You have to include scripture. There has to be scripture. You have to pray for the lost and felt needs. This is not a holy huddle.
Yeah.
The best way to get passionate about the lost is to pray for the lost. You have to share the gospel. And we've been working at the accountability on this, but our heart is that every week the gospel is either being shared with those that haven't heard it, or people who know it are being reminded of it. It's almost like an Apostles' Creed type. You're sharing it every week. You have a +1 mentality. That means every week you're inviting someone new. And the last thing is if someone gets plugged in, you make sure they get plugged into a local church. So you're inviting them to church. That's why I love our Jesus Clubs that meet on Wednesday, because it's like, yo, come to Oaks U tonight. Let's do this thing. And so, again.
And we're even celebrating other stuff. Like, so maybe you have a one night, and so they might talk about, hey, see you at this. But then even if another church has something going on, like, hey, this is a really cool opportunity for you. Because we want, to me, anything healthy, it doesn't just, it grows everything around it as well. And so other churches, you know, and again, I know some of the Jesus Clubs, like even the leadership team, it's mixed in there. Maybe one of the Oaks U students, the owner, but a part of their team are other students of like faith that are pumped about reaching their campus.
And two notes on this, and then we could move on. So a lot of youth pastors get hung up on, well, do I start a Jesus Club because my school that my students go to already has an FCA, or they already have a Young Life, or they already have Priority First. Just math. Biggest FCA I've ever seen had 50 kids at it. Now, let's say the school has...
It's probably in the fall, because they always dip in the spring.
That's true. So, but let's say there's 500 students that go to that school. That means there's 450 other students that are not gathering around the name of Jesus. So your student has influence that the FCA students don't have. They have people they could reach that no one else could. Like, we have a high school that has 4 Jesus Clubs in it. They all meet on different days at different times.
And they different even expressions on how they do it.
They're all doing different styles, and they all reach different people. So we actually want to see multiple Jesus Clubs in every one of our schools. And we don't want to limit students to be like, oh, they already have one, you can't. It's just math. There's more people to reach. And then the other thing I would say is just a reminder is that Jesus Clubs, as it exists out of North Texas, is not a 501c3. It's not an LLC. It's just an idea. That's why everything we have is free. It's like, take the toolbox. It doesn't have our logo on it. Call it whatever you want. Like, just start more clubs. Make it your own. Because our heart is occupy all schools, not do our thing.
That's good.
We don't really get anything out of it. We just want
kingdom expansion.
Exactly.
And I would say I thought through. We've talked about this with like Feed.Bible, that you and I've been on the journey with them for years, and we always call it kind of this Lego kind of philosophy almost, that, you know, hey, if I gave you a box of, you know, Legos, there is like this guide that you can like make the tell me some Star Wars thing you would make.
The Millennium Falcon.
All right, cool.
It's the most famous Lego build ever.
And so you can go, okay, here's all the pieces, but you could actually take those same parts and go, I'm going to build a house.
Exactly.
And so we're just going, hey, here's the pieces. Some students need more of those steps, but other ones are like, hey, this is a build your own. We're just helping provide kind of the Legos for them. There is somewhat of a guide, but it's loose to they can still publish and create.
It's guardrails. Those 5 things are like guardrails to like, this is what a Jesus Club is. And so the customizability is attractive to this generation more than any other before.
You're right.
Because, again, if they built it, they're more passionate about following through, and they own it. So.
And I love, too, if you're listening, and again, we've been talking for a while, but I love even the what if and the should. I think that's even a great way to just, the way you articulate would change even how you're helping them. And I think that's great.
Quick thoughts. On mobilization.
Let's talk about it. So we talked about a little bit like the mindset, the model. And again, I'll say this now, maybe say it later, but if they want more information, they can email youth, YOUTH, because I know in youth ministry people
YTH,
you know, they change it all over.
It's youth, the actual
or
word.
even I grew up, they would say UTH, youth, you know. So YOUTH, youth at oaks.church. If you send the email, and then just in the description just put like Jesus Clubs, and if you have questions, Andrew and the team
just
to do that as well.
Just pull up to HYM National Conference.
That's right.
You can go to a breakout in a super session.
That's right.
About missional youth ministry occupying all schools.
Because it really is a passion of mine.
Right.
It's a deep passion of yours. And it's, to be honest with you, I think we've had this is our 8th national conference. Mm-hmm. And there's a breakout, there's a session on this every
time.
Because we believe in this so much. We want to almost normalize like missional mobilization.
Right.
How do we help you the best we can? So there's going to be tools, there's going to be different things. So yes, if you want like kind of the hands-on experience, and where literally Andrew and the team will bring you through what this looks like, you need to be here, but you can email us as well. We just want to help you. Again, the more Jesus, the better.
More the better.
And how do we get students to live on mission? So we talked about mindset, we talked about the model, and what's it look like to mobilize. And you kind of hit a little bit of like those off ramps and what it looks like to really mobilize students to keep doing this thing and living this thing out when it comes to Jesus Clubs.
Absolutely. So the best place to launch the initiative, say you already done a round of beta testing through a discipleship. So you're not having teachings or gatherings.
Yeah.
You're doing one-on-one, life on life. I'm going to walk on a journey with a student from a yes to starting a Jesus Club. Yeah. And even as a youth pastor or leader, you're getting that up close. You're in the mess, helping them get it started.
Yeah.
That's going to give you more conviction and context as you're launching an initiative.
Yeah.
But any fall retreat, any camp, any student leadership gatherings you have is the best place to take all of that spiritual momentum and then channel it through an off-ramp that mobilizes students like Jesus Clubs.
Yeah.
And so in the
what's that look like? Give me an example. Walk me through, because camp's been that for you.
Right.
Your camp's at the end of the summer. Even if it's the first summer, you could still do it. You'd have to maybe create some kind of stopgaps before the school year. But talk me through, like, put kind of skin on this for even you guys going, okay, this is how we do it for Oaks Youth, that mobilizing from that kind of big gathering.
Yep. Our last night at camp is all about missional living. So you can preach anything you want, something that captures the idea of who's going to go. If you're saved, you're sent.
Yeah.
This is not an option. It's the Great Commission. Let's go.
Yeah.
And then you have a CTA, a call to action.
Okay.
So where it's like, man, if
call to action, you get that CTA.
There you go. And it's like, if God is calling you specifically to launch a Jesus Club in your school, and you have a yes before God who's going to go, and you have them do some bold stand up, run up, we're going to commission you in the service. Like, we'll go as far as like, dude, we're going to anoint you. We're going to lay hands. We're going to make it biblical.
Because you are truly a missionary to your school.
Yes. What they used to call it, campus missionary.
You're right.
It's exactly what you are. And you have the whole youth ministry pray over them.
Yeah.
But then you have the whole room.
And you're not trying to make people feel guilty that didn't say yes. You're wanting to really commission everyone that maybe this is their year to take a step in boldness.
Exactly.
You share tons of stories of what that looks like to inspire, but you're really, this is a cool moment. You're actually making it a moment.
But then you invite the whole room.
Yeah.
And so what we're doing this year is we have photos of the front of every school represented at our camp. And so the whole room is going to pray and intercede for the lost at every school represented. We even have a picture of a house for our homeschoolers.
Yeah, come on.
It's like, man, pray over the homeschool crew. Because that community is growing.
Yeah.
But the whole room's going to pray because, again, if you want to just be passionate about the lost, you pray for the lost.
Yeah, you're right.
It changes the way you think when you pray for people that way. And so out of that night, we have activation cards. We still do paper.
Yeah.
Reason why is, dude, like phones, push notifications, phones dying, you do it digital. You can't.
And if you're at camp, typically you don't have good Wi-Fi.
Dude, we have a little card,
Yeah.
and it's like, man, like I want to go public and get baptized. I want to start a Jesus Club.
Yeah.
I want to apply for student leadership.
Yeah.
I want to serve on the dream team and volunteer.
Yeah.
And so we have that activation card, which we take and get to steward.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of camp, we have a follow-up training.
Yeah.
We do it on a Sunday afternoon. It's
pretty
like,
quick too, because school's starting. You know.
Oh yeah.
It's like, I think maybe 2 weeks after. Is that right?
So all of our Jesus Clubs, the goal is that all of them are launched by See You at the Pole.
Yeah.
So See You at the Pole is mid-September.
Yeah.
So you have this on-ramp where you're fanning the flame, you're doing trainings, you're checking in. We make invite material for all of our Jesus Clubs. And so you don't have to feel like week one of school that you're launching all these.
But you're talking about it. Like they feel like
you're getting the email sent to the principal and to the sponsor.
Yeah.
Dude, sometimes I have to sit down with principals and be like, yes, your student does have the right to do this. And and do that in love and partnering with them. But yeah, in the trainings, we continue. So every month of the school year, we have a Jesus Club gathering.
Yeah.
And so this fall, we're going to be having once a month, all our Jesus Club owners, those students, get together to process success, to process struggle, and then also just for edification and encouragement.
That's good.
So you're getting these people from different schools who are leading different clubs.
Inspiring one another. You're like, oh, that's a cool idea.
They're doing two things. They're spurring one another on to acts of love and good works, and they're bearing one another's burdens and so fulfilling the law of Christ. And so, again, we even have training outlines that I can send you. If you guys ask me, it's like, hey, what does that first training after camp look like? Dude, here it is.
That's good.
So everything you need in that regard. But just imagine, like if you're saying you want to say, I want students where their invitation is their instinct. Jesus Clubs is a catalyst for that. Man, I want students to be passionate about reading the Word. Crazy enough, living missionally, that stirs up a hunger for God's Word. It's like, man, I want students to have a heart for their city. Man, we had Jesus Club owners just this week. These were Jesus Club owners. They were like, you know what? It's summer. We don't have Jesus Club. We're going to do a revival service in our city park. I showed up 10 minutes before the thing started.
All student-led.
All student-led. Student promoted. 255 people show up. 18 students get baptized. More than that get saved. And no adult touched a mic. And they just put it together. And those are because Jesus Clubs is an activator of a heart for the lost in general. So it's teaching students to live on mission all the time.
That's good.
They didn't even want to wait till school started. That was the second revival service like that students did on their own.
And you have more to come.
And that night, a student got called to do one in their city next door. And so, again, what we're talking about is missional youth ministry is not Jesus Clubs. Jesus Clubs is just an expression of a youth ministry where their heart's on mission. Here's to bring us around. This is the word that God's been helping me stand on. It's Jeremiah 6:16, where God is speaking through the prophet Jeremiah, and he says some fascinating stuff in my opinion. He says, he's talking to the people of Israel. He says, stand at the crossroads and look. So let's imagine just like two ways of doing youth ministry, of leading, of living for God. He says, stand at the crossroads and look. Choose the old godly way. And walk in it. And you will find rest for your souls. And so, like, for me, like, even in youth ministry, it's like, man, what's the new? What's the hot? Like, what's this big thing? Like, what's going to be next? What do we need to do on social media? Respect to all of it. But if I'm standing at the crossroads and it's like, man, what am I going to push my chips in on? And what am I going to make? I'm going to choose the old godly way, which hasn't changed since Acts chapter 2. Is go and make disciples, mobilize people to live on mission, equip the saints for the work of the ministry, and he says you'll find rest for your souls. There's no more striving, there's no more seeking to trying to find the best new thing. It's like, dude, we're just going to train students to share the gospel. We're going to equip them to actually make disciples, not just through Jesus Clubs, but life on life, one-on-one. I can tell you about a student leader who met with a student that got saved last Wednesday because he walked up forward when he gave his life to Jesus, and he's got lunch with him twice in the past week. They've read Romans together. He did that on his own. That's the dream. And so
that's true mobilization.
And here's the crazy part.
Mobilization brings multiplication. Like that's when you start seeing the growth that God has intended for us. And we see in the book of Acts.
That was the whole goal. And so Jeremiah 6:16, it ends, though, with a sobering note. So it says, man, choose the old godly way. Choose that path on the crossroads, and you'll find rest for your souls. But of that generation, and Jeremiah's generation, God says, but you say, that's not what we want. I'm like, let it not be said of me and our generation of youth pastors and leaders that we didn't want the old godly way. Like,
that's
man,
good.
I just want the simple way. I want Oaks Youth to be a modern expression of the biblical example. I want to look as close to Acts as possible. I don't want to complicate what's been simple since it started. Which is just this reality that, man, eternal life and life to the full is available by grace alone, through faith alone, in Christ alone. If students know that and they can share it, and they're equipped to do so, that's the win.
Come on. Fires me up, man. And I agree. I'm talking 23 years for me. You know, in youth ministry, around youth ministry, and that's the truth. Like, we overcomplicate it, or we try to take models from other churches, even though we're giving you an example of it. But we could you've heard so much scripture through this. We can pull all this away, and there it is in the Word of God.
Right.
And that's what we're wanting to live. And so
whatever it takes.
And so a verse we say every week.
Hey, now.
I say every week. Every episode.
Every episode, 100%.
I say it every week.
I say it every week.
I call it a door frame verse.
Yeah.
What that means is like different sports teams, like, for this guy who's an Oklahoma State fan, like go Pokes.
Slap
whatever,
the sign.
And for the University of Oklahoma, it says like, there's only one Oklahoma, but it says play like a champion is what they hit on the doorway. And there's like for Michigan, go blue, like all these.
Yeah.
But to me, this wasn't my life verse when I first started ministry.
Yeah.
But after a few years, I was like, I need this verse in my life. And it's a great reminder, especially with there's some leaders that have disqualified themselves.
Right.
And it's heartbreaking. And some of them aren't at their posts anymore. Mm-hmm. And I think maybe not just for them, but I think as even the youth ministry, even the old way, I think this verse is like, hey, don't forget. So
Right.
Galatians 6:9.
So let us not grow tired in doing good.
That's right.
For at the right time,
Right time.
you'll reap a harvest of blessing if you don't give up.
That's right. So don't give up. Hey, remember, we're stronger together, so refuse to do life alone. Let's go.
Let's go.
Thank you for listening to the Healthy Youth Ministry podcast. And thank you for investing in your leadership, because the next generation needs you. And we believe healthy youth pastors and leaders are the number one catalyst for seeing healthy youth ministries. Again, make sure to check out hymconference.com for more information about our national conference on October 14th and 15th. And our final prayer and encouragement to you is this: Galatians 6:9. So let us not grow tired in doing what is good, for at the right time we will reap a harvest of blessing if we don't give up. And with that, we will see you next month for another episode of the Healthy Youth Ministry podcast.